This is Autohaus Z, and this is a 1980 Toyota Starlet. Let's take a look. Alright, so a short history about how this car came into the shop. The owner actually has a son who has a AE86 Corolla, and father-son project, they came to Battle Garage to pick up some parts and work on the Corolla. So what I didn't know was he had this thing, and so apparently this car has sat for the past 10 years for whatever reason, and one of the big things that needed to be fixed was it did not have a proper cooling system in it. So before, this radiator was kind of halfway in, halfway out, hoses weren't hooked up. So the biggest thing the owner of this car, wanted me to do was to fix the cooling system situation and basically get this car back running again because he wants to drive it. It's funny, I have a really long waiting list, and so, you know, it pains me to say this, but I think the owner had to wait at least a few months for me before I had a spot open for him. And I remember when he dropped off the car, I told him, like, I'm sorry he had to wait so long, but he kind of stopped me and he was like, hey, I waited 10 years, I can wait a little bit more. So without further ado, why don't we take a look around this thing. Alright, so 1980 Toyota Starlet. This N2 kit is actually a replica. And it's interesting, this car is sitting for so long. There's a lot of period correct stuff on this car for whoever built it. For example, somebody made these engine mounts. So this is probably before T3 had engine mounts for a 4A into a Starlet. And if you guys haven't already guessed it, it's a 4AG T50 into the Starlet. And of course with some Weber Sidedrafts. There's some cool stuff about this swap. Like, if you guys don't know, this originally came cable clutch. So when you do 4A swap, you have to convert to hydraulic clutch. I've seen some weird stuff, like people stick a clutch master cylinder inside the fender. So actually under the dash, there's actually a remote clutch master cylinder under the dash, and then you can see the fluid reservoir is also remote. So I think this is a common modification. When people put the N2 flares, they end up sticking the gas filler neck inside the cabin. This thing has an old school electric mechanical fuel pump in here. This filter probably needs to be updated. Battery relocated to the back, and it's got this cool auto power roll bar in it. Alright, I had to bring out the repair order because I did so much to this car that I actually forget. So, cooling system stuff. This is a aftermarket AE86 radiator. AE86 radiator hoses that are just shortened a little bit. If you have a keen eye, you'll notice AE92 upper water neck with the sensor. I welded in the T3 mounts for this radiator, which are now discontinued, and then I handmade these two brackets to hold down the radiator. This rubber piece is actually a Dorman universal part for radiators, and then same thing, the radiator grommets at the bottom are also Dorman universal parts. Unknown high-rise header, but pretty cool. Again, period correct stuff. I do not know how to hook this up, and the owner says he got this a long time ago because it's easier to tune the carbs with this. I think you can actually control ignition advance with this guy, but for now we are not going to hook this guy up. There was no coolant overflow before, so this is actually a brand new AE86 overflow from Battle Garage RS, and I had to build a bracket to hold this overflow tank. These relays, I had to make this bracket plus wire up the relays because this AE92 switch is actually a normally closed switch, and when it comes up to temp, the switch actually opens, which is opposite of what you need. So you actually need to build a 2 relay system. And I dug through Club 4AG, and there's the wiring diagram of how to hook up those relays. So besides a once over inspection of this car, because I know the owner wants to be able to drive this thing on the street again safely, some other cool stuff. I rebuilt the shifter with some T3 shifter bushings, trans and diff fluid service. The gland nuts on the front struts backed off, so I tightened those guys. and then also a trans output seal, and then the trans tail shaft was also missing the dust shield, so I got one of those on there for you. So there's also some pretty cool stuff under here. Let's talk about the rear end, because the rear ends are my favorite part. So it looks like AE86 rear end that has been shortened to fit the Starlet, and then all the bracketry, so the 4-link bracketry was welded on, and this guy was modified to fit a Starlet. Cool stuff. Yeah, Corolla rear brakes and parking cables. This custom one-piece drive shaft was probably made back in the day. And then you can see this is dry because this was missing when I got it, and then also the output shaft seal was leaking. It's pretty cool, the block's painted, so curious if this engine got built, or how it got spec'd out back in the day when this thing was first swapped. Same thing, these unknown headers modified to fit the chassis. Starlet RCAs. Yeah, the owner ideally would like to convert to AE86 coilovers and brakes and stuff, but we'll see if that's within budget or within the future plans. So there's a trigger wheel because the owner was trying to run the electromotive, and then you can see the sensor bracket up here. Oil filter relocation to the factory GTS oil cooler. Alright, so the owner of this car just wanted to get it up to this point, running, safety check, fan and cooling system working and plumbed. He's going to take this back to the body shop because I know for sure the hood's a little bit messed up, and same thing with the hood hinges, so this should get towed to the body shop I think on Monday. That's why I wanted to film this car before it left. But the owner's pretty pumped about this car, so he's already told me future plans of bringing it back. I'll keep those a secret, but I know some stuff he'll be like, are you able to do this? And I'll be like, yeah, and he's like, good, because I'm gonna come back to you and you're gonna do it. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, the owner, for giving me the opportunity. This is a beautiful car. I bet it's fun as hell to drive once it gets dialed in. So one thing I think really cool, like the owner's story of this car, you could really see, even though this is a middle-aged man, his son's going off to college now, you could really see conversations talking with the owner of this car that, like, I don't know the best way to put it, but like when their eyes light up, I can really feel it, like, oh man, this guy's like really tapped in, or like really an enthusiast, so it really feels good for me to do this kind of work where like bring this car back to life, because I know the owner, this car means a lot to the owner, and then it will bring him joy in the future to be able to comfortably and safely and reliably enjoy his car. I'm trying to do more of these like build bio owner, like walk around videos like this, so if you guys have any suggestions, please leave something in the comments below, and make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks again, you guys. Until next time.